Hello, everybody. Welcome again to Queena Show. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are. Let's just get into it, yeah. Um, Bitcoin will still bite the dust. This is an article written by Kevin Dodd, who is a professor of finance and economics in a business school at Durham University. And he was also the co-author of the 2015 paper, Bitcoin Will Bite the Dust. Now, his latest article is that Bitcoin will still bite the dust. Let's just read on a bit and I'll just tell you what I think. Back in August 2014, I discovered that Bitcoin mining industry had the industrial structure of a natural monopoly. A natural monopoly is a market in which production is most efficient with a single producer. This discovery came as a shock, but the implication was clear. Bitcoin could not survive in the long run. As a check, I field tested my reasoning on various people who are economically literate. None disagreed. When I first arrived at the conclusion, Bitcoin's price was $379. Since then, the price has rose to nearly $20,000 and has since fallen to a value of $3,621 at the time of writing. Does subsequent price behavior of Bitcoin mean my prediction was wrong? No. I still think the long-run equilibrium price of Bitcoin is zero. It just hasn't bitten the dust yet. And my reasoning is based on two simple economic arguments. The first is that the Bitcoin mining industry is a natural monopoly, and a natural monopoly undermines Bitcoin's core value proposition. The second is that in markets with zero regulatory entry barriers, an inferior product cannot survive long term. Either of these arguments is sufficient to produce my conclusion that the price of Bitcoin must go to zero in the long term. So my take is basically Kevin Dodd, right, who's the author of this article, has two reasons why he thinks Bitcoin's price will go to zero eventually. First one, it says because the business of mining Bitcoin has to be a natural monopoly business to achieve economies of scale. And in a way, we have seen some of them play out, right, in the last 10 years with a lot of major companies like Bitmain being the major producer, being the major mining rig in the world. But when prices fall the last, 1 year long winter, big companies like this are the one that folded first, right? So it's also very susceptible. So the natural monopoly argument won't hold as well, right? It's not such a strong argument that it just doesn't. In fact, history has already shown that last 1 year it didn't hold up, and what happens is that you still have continuously this individual miners, right, or this smaller group of miners who continue to take mining in their own home, right, and that continues. So as long as there's some individuals who mine, right, and that will basically will spread the power and less susceptible to the 51% attack. That means less concentration of the mining power in anyone's hand. In addition, there was also one new, there's already one news that came, I think it was last month, that basically say there are already companies that are looking at develop very, very user-friendly mining equipments to be flexible, that can be used by both amateurs, so people like you and me who are very new, we can use it on our laptops or computers. When we are not using the laptops, we can mine computers very easily on our computer, or it can be done, the mining can be done by also very people who are really tech savvy, that they can run their own computers, dedicated computers to run the mining process. But basically, there are innovations like this coming into play. So if it is so simple for anyone to mine using just the spare capacity of your own computer, then I'm sure more people, will go into this space, because why not? If you can, have the chance to earn extra money, then more and more people will mine. And some people may just go in, this mining process because they are so much affordable now and so easy, because of the philosophical point of it, right? Because you just want to support Bitcoin as a movement, right? Not just the price, but because you want to ensure that, the network continues to be strong, because you really have to have a very strong network, right? That can make sure that the power of the computing power is very decentralized, so that not one single party with more than 51% of computing power can, manipulate the mining process, and then they can, just though people with, again, companies with such high power concentration in their company, why would they want to destroy something where they have so much interest in, right? So again, so that's why I think it doesn't hold up the fact that, the first point that he said, Bitcoin is a natural monopoly to succeed. I don't agree, right? Second reason, he basically say that because it is an inferior product. What he means is that basically because in 2013 we have seen there are still not so many other alternative coins. Bitcoin was the dominant ones with 94% market cap. So Bitcoin's market cap was 94% of the total market cap of all cryptocurrencies that were in existence. That was 2013. Of course, now, right, the market cap of Bitcoin is about 55 to 50%, right there about. And he, based on this, he thinks that, the importance of Bitcoin has been eroded. And why is that? Is basically he attributed that to the rise of alternative coins that promises to deliver, better proposition like faster transaction time, lower fees, right? More user friendly, doesn't need so much computing powers to make sure the blockchain runs successfully. So he has all these arguments, but my take is that, right? And basically, they also, some experts think as well that in the long run, in fact, in the next few years, the scenario will play out very likely that Bitcoin, right, will be dominant coins along with a handful few, but the alternative coins will really dwindle to zero. So that means Bitcoin may not be the dominant one in the end, but there will be a few of them who will be dominant, right? And the other alternative coins will basically have no space, have no standing at all. It will cease to exist, basically. Why is that? Although now a lot of them, are in existence, a lot of them are basically, a lot of the ICOs, right, new coins that are in existence, the very small cap ones, doesn't have a lot of real differentiation. A lot of them, are basically a better version of what is already in place, yeah. And when Bitcoin and the major, other platforms really do finish their upgrades, right, then they will be able to deliver all those, better proposition that will be promised by the new projects. But even then, the new projects are still, we haven't really seen a lot of progress in terms of what are the real deliverables of all these new projects as well. But instead, Bitcoin being 10 years old, it's a lot of developers still working on it, right? And right, Lightning Network, which is although it's not fully launched yet, they have seen a lot of early signs that it is getting adoption. It is being great progress, right? So that's Lightning Network is supposed to make Bitcoin so much faster. So that just tell me, right, that although although now you have seen a lot of competitors coming to compete away the Bitcoin's position and also other major coins, but ultimately in the long run, only few players, right, really who will be dominant, I think, yeah. And it is interesting to see who are those, right? But definitely Bitcoin, it had a very strong natural advantage because it had time and it was the first one. And it is so decentralized nature, right? There's no company behind it. That attracted a lot of people really purely who just want to work on it because they believe in the potential of this invention, not for so much for money, not so much for profit, but they're really in the long run just to make, they want to see Bitcoin succeed. A lot of people going, whereas for other smaller projects, their the first motive is really driven by profit, and it takes time to deliver value. And when they don't see the money coming, a lot of the developers will just go away. And also it is very hard to get new funding after sometime you still cannot deliver value. Yeah, so that's my take. Next news. Next news, right? This is interesting because if you recognize the person in the picture, he's actually Tim Draper, who is a billionaire American venture capitalist who is really a Bitcoin bull, yeah? And he has gone into Bitcoin very early, as early as 2013, yeah? And this article is basically, it talks a bit about his stories, about how he got in, which is interesting. You should just, read this article. It's quite interesting how he got in. But the very interesting thing is that, right, he basically see the strong potential of Bitcoin still, yeah. And what he said, I just want to read out the use cases which he wanted, and I thought he has summarized it so well that let me just, call it out. A Bitcoin wallet can also be used as an escrow for a contract in transition or a redistribution of an estate, or as a transfer agent to distribute payments, dividends, or shares of stock. Blockchains can keep track of money, data, inventory, contracts, etc. And smart contracts can be designed such that they anticipate eventualities and automatically distribute funds appropriately. Corporations can use the blockchain to automatically pay employees their wages and benefits, pay shareholders their dividends, and pay note holders their interest and principal payments, all with precise accuracy and automated accounting. The blockchain can manage three-way transfers with ease and eventually will handle retail transactions without the need for credit or debit cards. Insurance companies can use it to manage their claims and automate collections. Real estate, escrows, and titles can all be done quickly and easily between buyer and seller. Drugs and food can be authenticated by blockchain to guarantee their origins. Yeah, and the US government can manage social security, welfare, Medicare, workers' comp, disability, and all their data verification of citizens and businesses with Bitcoin and the blockchain. Since blockchain is the perfect government employee, it is honest, incorruptible, secure, and fair. Yeah. The other thing is, this is interesting, he drew parallel between Bitcoin now and the internet in 1994. In 1994, the internet was just for hobbyists and hackers. I remember when I first used the internet, the only things I could do were to buy diamonds and to try to break into NORAD. There were very few users. It took many years for the internet to become mainstream, but when it did, it transformed industries. Yeah. So yeah, that's what actually I want to talk about. This thing. So that's the thing. When you have very smart people, right? People who have actually identified a lot of new startups from early on, who went on to succeed, like Tim Draper. He was early investors in Skype, Tesla. So he definitely can see these people somehow have a knack for spotting new opportunities early on, and they invest in them, right? So not just paying lip service in support, but actually putting their own money, which they can easily invest elsewhere. Yeah. Just because they are rich doesn't mean that they must invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. They can always invest, in something else which they thought can earn them better returns in the long run. But they chose to invest quite substantial, right? Well, about 18 million or so when he invested in the coins that's being auctioned off by the US marshals, because they have seized those coins from Mt. Gox, which is the first crypto exchange that have failed, right? And the government has seized those coins from the exchange and has auctioned off those. So he has actually spent about $18 million, at that time, 2013, to actually buy those coins, being the highest bidder. And he won all those bids, so he got all those coins early. And of course, now it's worth a lot. But at the time, he could have easily put 18 million into another startup as well. Yeah. So just know that, right, the rich people, what are they doing? And, do you want to follow in their footsteps? After all, is there some, examples that they can be learned from these rich people? Another news which is very interesting, I thought, is that newspaper adds 6 donations for Bitcoin baby's college fund. Despite just being 1 week old, Isabella Bowles carries great expectations upon her tiny shoulders. The baby born on January 6 will go to college when she's older, if parents violate her and Peter can help it. What's more, her future tuition fees will be paid for using what many believe to be the future of money, Bitcoin. Yeah. So they run an ad. So her parents run an ad in Times, which is interesting because it's the Times when actually, the Satoshi used the headline of Times to be in the first block of Bitcoin, right? Because it says the, UK Chancellor is on the brink of bailing out UK banks, right? And now these parents, the Bowles family, is basically very innovative, and they actually run an ad as well in Times newspaper to seek donation in Bitcoin for their daughter. And so far, they have gotten 0.84 Bitcoins in donation, which now if some of the predictions of like Tim Draper and a lot of the major people in the industry is correct, some predictions have gone on to 100,000 one Bitcoin to 251 Bitcoin by Tim Draper. That kind of prices, it will definitely be more than enough to fund Isabella's college education, because right now college education in US costs about 50,000. So by the time when she grow up 18, 20 years later, maybe it has gone up, by to 100,000 perhaps. But So one Bitcoin, so she has now 0.84, is definitely enough to, fund her college fund. This is very interesting. But of course, it also draws criticism as, the parents are actually using this baby and just, to seek fame, and of course, and this is just like a mask way or a better way to beg for money, right? But I think regardless, it is still don't really know the true motive of the parents, but yes, regardless, the daughter, regardless, will forever, her name, her identity will forever be tied to Bitcoin. So whether that's a good thing or not, now if Bitcoin in the future is going to do very well, then it's definitely very good for her. But of course, if it went on to really become zero, which I personally think is very low likelihood, then right, it will be just a failed experiment. And what will it then, what's the impact it will have on her? Now that is really, it will be anyone's guess to find out. But regardless, I think it is a good marketing. If you look at Bitcoin and the crypto point of view, it is a good marketing, free marketing for the industry, for Bitcoin. But yeah, on a personal or parental point of view, yes, it may not be the best way to actually, get a funding for your kids. Yeah. So I'll just leave it as that. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate your support. And hope you have a great day wherever you are. Yeah. And God bless. Thank you.